Hello and welcome to the course on C Programming Learn to Code series. This is the 37th lecture of Unit 2, and in this lecture we are starting a new topic that is called your basic input output. With this lecture we will talk about different functions provided by your C programming language for taking input from the input device and produce the output on the output device. So let's begin. We know that every program takes input, process it and produce some output. So for this, C programming has provided lots of functions for that. So from those functions, we already have talked about scanf and printf function. So what exactly the printf and scanf function do? The printf function will print the data in the output devices. So here, if you see, I have used three different blocks. One block showing your input function, one block showing your processing, and the third block showing your output function. So what exactly the input function will do? The input function will take the input from the user through any input device connected to your computer. After taking that input, the processing device, whatever statement we have written inside the processing device, that will process the data which is collected from the input device. After processing the data, it will be displayed by the help of a printf function. Okay, so whatever we have discussed about printf and scanf, that is the basic one, but there are several other features associated with your printf and scanf, and that we will discuss in continuous videos. Well, so besides that, not only this scanf and printf function, there are several other functions also provided by your C programming language. So this lecture will give you a category of functions that are already present in your C programming language. Well, so as I have already told you, there are numerous library functions available for input output. They are classified into three groups. Okay, so what are the different classification? So the classifications are something like this. One class of function represents your console IO functions. Second class is called your disk or file IO functions, and the third class is representing your port IO functions. So let us understand it in a detailed manner. Console means your input output devices, that is your keyboard and monitor. So these are called generally the console. Okay, so whenever any functions that are present in your C programming language takes input from the keyboard and process it, and after processing, the output function will produce the output in the LCD monitor or any monitor connected to your computer, then those are called the console input out function. So what are the different functions that we talked about? So there are several, but we already know that two console functions, that is your scanf and printf. Scanf takes the input from the keyboard and printf produce the output on the monitor. So any function that takes the input from the console, that is your keyboard, and produce the output on the monitor are coming under the console input output function. The next category will be your disk or file IO function. So whenever we storing the data on file represent in the disk and retrieving it. That means whenever any file is created by us using any programming language and we want to extract the data from that file or store the data from the file, store the data in the file, that time we are using some of the functions. So those functions are particularly coming under this category, that is your disk or file IO. For understanding in a detailed manner, assume that this is your hard disk which is connected to your computer, and in this hard disk you have created some file maybe, right? So suppose these are the files and you store some value inside these files. Now suppose this is your program. You have written a program, and by writing this program you are trying to extract the data present in this file. Okay, and you want to write some data into this file. So that time you are using some of the functions that is written on your program. Those functions are coming under your disk or file IO functions. Okay, this is not included in our course, so we will skip these functions. The next part is called your port IO functions. So port IO means any functions that is required to take input through your port. You know that your computer has different type of port, and through port the data can be read or data can be transferred to other devices. So for that there are also some functions available in C programming language, but those are not in the scope of our course. So this part, that is your disk IO and your port IO functions, we will not discuss. We will only discuss the different type of functions provided to handle your consoles. Okay, so what are the different type of functions provided by your C programming language? Let us look into it. So particularly the console input output functions are divided into two groups. One is called your formatted functions and your unformatted functions. So what do you mean by formatted functions? The meaning of formatted means arranging the output in a proper format so that it is more readable than unformatted functions. Okay, so with this capability will be available with two functions, that is your printf and scanf. Okay, so there are several options available in your printf and scanf, so that whenever we are displaying the output of a program, that will be displayed in a proper format so that it will be more readable, looks good, so that user can understand what is actually printed in the screen. So that is why this is called your formatted functions. Unformatted functions are only displaying the data on the screen, but it does not show you in a formatted manner. So though the output has been came in your screen, but it is in an unformatted condition or unarranged format. So there are several unformatted functions that are provided by your C programming language. Those are get character, put character, gets, puts, getch, getche and putch. You can notice every function ended with a blank bracket. So there is a significance of that will be discussed in your function class. Anyway, so all these functions need to be discussed properly. Some of the functions are not supported right now by different compiler, so but still we will use the old compiler to explain you all these functions clearly. Some of these functions are defined in another header file like your getch and getche, that will be defined inside the header file conio.h, that stands for console input output. Okay, so while you are solving some problems using your getch or getche, or you want to use the functions like getch or getche, then you don't forget to include this hash include conio.h. Okay, so that's all for the today's class. In the next class onwards, we will take some functions from these and we will explain about them with some programming examples. That's all. Stay tuned for the next video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.